Hello and welcome to the Bold Black Girls Podcast. I'm Aries.
And I am Kim.
Good afternoon.
Happy Sunday.
Well, it is Wednesday.
Technically.
For
But we're
everybody
recording
else.
on a Sunday.
Yeah, recording on Sunday. Kim has I think I gave her my energy drain from last week.
You did.
Cause I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I'm tired. And I'm like,
Well, I did have a busy week. Remember.
you did? Did you have a busy week?
The hot water tank took me out.
Yeah. Forgot about that. That house, listen, this homeowner life, people.
As a single woman,
I love having my own home. It is something everyone should really aspire to have some type of land, some type of property, something that they can invest in. It is worth it. But that homeowner life is something totally different than other, renting life, because I don't be feeling like fixing all this stuff that goes on.
and it takes time to find the right people.
Yeah.
Right.
Quality service professionals.
Yeah, because I literally had 3 or 4 different people out last week. I'm tired. I was drained. And don't forget we're still in the pandemic.
Yeah. We are
so I really
yeah.
I really have not had people at my house because I was afraid to let them in. You know, just with the whole, even though you have a mask, I'm just like contained in the house. So only if it was necessary.
Yeah.
So that hot water tank literally just wiped out all of my energy.
I bet.
I literally had to put on boots because the water just was everywhere. I had my rain boots on. I had my rain boots.
You didn't even tell me all that.
I know.
Because I'm going to be getting on her butt.
So I found someone to come replace the water heater because there's a shortage on plumbers.
Yeah.
So that was challenging. And then the water in the house, I ended up calling my carpet guy and he came and got it for me. So it wasn't too bad. And he was able to get it. But you could, I didn't want it to turn into mold or anything like that. And water, it's sitting around, it will smell.
Been there, girl. I've been there. I had my water heater leak and got in the house, had to pull the carpet out, bring fans in to dry it all up so we didn't, girl. So I can't even imagine. That stuff sucks. So just imagine what people who had like the burst pipes and all that stuff where it was just like puddles, everywhere. Of water. Yeah. So that's not a good look.
I mean, if you are going to be a homeowner, have an emergency fund. You have to have an emergency fund because even with your deductible for insurance, even if I was going to file a claim, but it was like, well, my deductible is what I'm coming out of pocket. So regardless, you still gotta always have that. So I ended up meeting with my agent. This was already planned, totally unrelated, but I learned a lot and I'll have to share that with you.
Now, usually don't they take that out of the amount they're going to give you to fix the stuff?
You still have, nope, you got to pay your deductible. So
see, mine, they take it out of the settlement amount, right? So let's say it's going to cost you $10,000 to get something fixed. Well, they just take the deductible out of that and give you 9,000 or 8,000, whatever the number is. Something like that.
They would do that. They would, but I'm saying like the cost was like, say my cost was $2,000, my deductible was $2,500.
Yeah.
Well, the cost of everything was $2,500, so it didn't make sense.
Right. Okay.
So yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, that homeowner life is. Actually, we should do a podcast about that.
We should. I'm surprised. Have we not? No, we haven't, huh?
No.
We can talk about that.
And the whole process and that whole journey of home ownership, because you think about equity that you build. And that equity is there if you ever need to use it for anything.
Definitely.
And I've talked to someone who said that their rent went up like $400. I'm like, what?
It goes up every year, typically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, what else? So that took all your time this week.
Yeah. So I needed to re-energize. So I'm resting. I think we talked about that on that other podcast. Like, sometimes you just gotta rest.
You got to rest. No, that is a requirement. The Bible says you got to rest. It commands you to rest.
What about you?
Me, this week was just, kind of a continuation from last week.
So you're saying that your energy has not changed from last week?
It's improved as the week kind of came to a close, but I had my performance review this last week. So I was preparing for that and, going through all that and just yeah. That was the main thing. Yesterday, what did I do this Saturday? I forgot. I was in Clubhouse for a while, but it was really it was a really good conversation.
So do you go on stage quite a bit?
It depends on the room. And if I feel compelled to say anything, sometimes I just have it on and I'll be
Just
listening. But then, there'll be times where like yesterday, I'm like, I got to be in here. So if they invite me up, I'll come. Okay. So yeah, but it was good. I like it. I'm very strategic with how I use Clubhouse as well. Like in the beginning, how you're just kind of
trying to figure it out.
And if rooms don't feel right, I'm out. And I don't go into, depending upon what the title is, I don't even click on some of that stuff because I'm like, I don't even need that stuff in my spirit. Like I'm very particular with the type of energy I allow to pour into me, what I watch, what I'm
listening to.
I just can't like get into all that. So me and the boys, we watched Coming to America.
I was gonna say, speaking of watching,
I was say we watched Coming to America 2. I enjoyed it. It's funny because some of the rooms yesterday people were like, it wasn't good and stuff.
It was trash.
And I'm like, let's be realistic.
The first one
is the first one. That has nothing to do with this as far as
the same characters.
It's not gonna be the first one.
Yeah.
It's not. And I didn't come into it expecting it. Oh my God, this is going to be better.
Right.
Who expects a sequel to be better? Name sequels other than Toy Story that were better than the first one. I don't know any.
Right. Not even Lion King. Because it's nothing like the first one.
I don't even remember the other Lion King. I only know the first one. Well, I guess the remakes, you mean?
No, because there was like a Lion 2, Lion
1.5.
Yep.
I don't remember that. I didn't even watch that. I don't think
it was a Lion King.
I feel like it was bootleg.
I think it's a Lion King 2 as well.
I don't think it's a 2. Kung Fu Panda. But like there's no sequels.
It was a Lion King 2, Simba's Pride.
See, I didn't watch that. I didn't even watch it. I mean, that tells you where my mind was on that, but I didn't come into it. I came in more for the nostalgia, seeing the old characters now 33 years later.
And they still look good.
They look good. I'm like, I was amazed that most of those people were still alive. The mom is the only one I think that passed away before, And so I was just like, just the nostalgia of seeing everybody again. I really had no expectation for it to be like excellent. I really didn't.
The first one wasn't excellent.
It was funny.
Yeah.
And it's a culture classic. Like it is literally like if you don't get a black card if you haven't seen Coming to America, period. Like that's just a part of our, if you can't say you're black and not have seen that. Like that's just, that. There's a lot of us who didn't because I don't know what y'all was up into. Kim, it's a lot of movies Kim haven't seen, y'all. So if y'all want to pull her
name one.
You said the same thing. Then you said you have to make Kiera y'all have to watch some stuff because you hadn't seen a bunch of movies.
I've seen a bunch of movies.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was Kiera then.
Maybe, yeah, I've seen them.
I was about to say, I started my sons watching the movies early. I was like, look, we're not gonna have
I'm
this
trying
problem.
to think like Boys in the Hood, things like that.
Yeah,
she didn't see.
Okay, yeah, because age appropriate.
Exactly.
That's why let me see. What I think I did let the boys see Boys in the Hood though.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
That the life is rough. If they could see the police killing people on TV,
they might as well. You're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a
you
different
put it
time.
into that perspective.
Exactly. So, and speaking of that, with George Floyd's the trial for Derek Chauvin is supposed to be this week. I think they might postpone it because they're thinking about putting another 3rd-degree charge or something on him. So, people getting back in the mindset of all that stuff too. But I'm like, it's reality, now.
It's unfortunate that that's reality.
We could shield our kids of things like that back in the day. Now it's like it's on TV.
It's everywhere. They can be on TikTok and you might see some mention of it, right?
Exactly. So it was kind of for me this week with the boys, like they were looking forward to it because they've seen the original. And for kids, I feel like, for them, they enjoyed
they
it.
could relate to it.
Yeah, it wasn't nothing real crazy, or
I liked it. It
bad
was
in it.
not bad. I mean, I know some people were criticizing it. I'm just like, you know, um, it just was entertainment. It was just
Yeah.
what I did kind of get me was when he was introducing, he's like, "This is your bastard brother."
They
He
kept saying your
kept
bastard
saying
son.
that. "This is your bastard brother,"
Yeah.
or so and so, and I'm like, "Ow."
I know. But see, back in the day, and when I used to watch, if you ever watched Game of Thrones, that's kind of how it was a stigma, and it was something that you wore on you.
What?
People knew you were not, like in these kingdoms and stuff. It'd be like, that's his bastard son, or whatever. Everybody knew you were the bastard. That was like a thing. So,
and back in the day, like, if you were a bastard child, that was something that people would talk about as well.
Born out of wedlock.
Born out of wedlock.
Now it's like, we are progressive. So, a lot of stuff that we used to say and do, we're not doing anymore. And I think, it's interesting because we and you were talking about like the diversity stuff. And I was like, I got a lot of people who will be saying like, I don't want to do the pronouns, or whatever, right? Which I probably was one of them early on too, because it was kind of like more stuff to try to figure out, But now, I mean, I get it. And that's the thing about like when we're asking about diversity, equity, inclusion, all these like new things, it's work. It's intention to be inclusive, right? It takes an extra step, right? Like it does. So it's almost like if I'm asking someone to be inclusive of me, can I not be inclusive when it comes to something that somebody's not like me? I don't know. So that's kind of what I've been wrestling with myself, just kind of like taking it from a different perspective.
What if it was me?
Exactly.
What if it was our children? You want our children to be looked at, and you want people to be inclusive of our children.
Exactly. And it's interesting. I was talking to my dad yesterday. We did like our impromptu recording because we've been saying we're going to do it for a while. And I told him, I said, we're just going every week. We'll just record like an hour, He has an amazing story of and there's a book that just came out where he's all up in there. It's a baseball player who used to play for the Dodgers. His name is Glenn Burke, who was my dad's roommate back in the day when he played ball. So they came up in the minor leagues together, and then Glenn went into the majors. So when he died of AIDS back in I feel like it was 90, no, maybe it was 2000 something. I can't remember what year. But anyway, he wasn't openly gay originally, but like somebody tried to out him or whatever, and that really caused issues in his baseball career. Because once people started finding out that he was gay, they started acting crazy and treating him different. But my dad, and this is back in the 70s, and 70s and 80s and stuff. He was talking about how, because he's one of the people that contributed to the documentary they have about him. It's called Out. And then there's a book, I think it's called High Five. I forgot the name of it. Anyway, see, this came off the dome, so I didn't even get all them facts. But my dad gave a lot of the stories about him, because that was his friend.
Oh, wow.
And he told me, he was saying how, like, people were tripping. He's like, people were really tripping off of that, especially think about the 70s, right? Right? They were tripping off of him, calling him, the F word, and being rude. And he was like, I didn't even care, like I just wasn't tripping off of that. And he's like, first of all, I knew he could whoop him if he wanted to. He was like, they was playing, but I didn't seen him, knock some folks out. Like they acted like just because he was, gay, that he can't fight. Like he's like, I didn't have to protect him per se, but it was just like one of those things where, and me and him kind of laughed about that as far as some of this stuff. And I'm like, we out here trying, everybody got a struggle, and I ain't got time to worry about you, being gay or being this or being that, whatever.
And who am I to judge?
That's what the whole point, right? It's like we will sit up here and
worry about someone else's life and how they were living.
listen. It's not imposing on my well-being
or where my money resides.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm like, so some of this stuff, it just be so, it's like you just looking for something to be mad about. And it's so annoying. And I don't know. I feel like we make this stuff so much more complicated. And sometimes I was like, if I could get in the mind of a white man, like I want to just know what it feels like. The ones that are getting offended by diversity and inclusion, or these things, because obviously, when we hear the topics, it's even with white women, they'll be like, white men are like the epitome of like the opposite of diversity, right?
Right.
So as a white man, I'm like, I wonder what does that look like? Because I can tell it makes you get defensive because you're like, well, I'm the antithesis of,
right.
of it, right? So sometimes I'm like, is it because you feel
attacked,
threatened that you're
the power
at the head of the table?
The power.
Yeah, it's like scoot over, man. We're all up at this table now, kind of thing. And we talked about last week the women's history. We're still in Women's History Month. Women coming into the workplace was not something that was supposed to happen. That was not a part of this, right? Black people, please. Y'all were nowhere close to being a part of this, And then if we talk about the LGBTQ plus community, like forget about it, right? Like that is literally, so all of this is considered radical, is considered, revolutionary, and all that. And sometimes I'm just like, why we make stuff so hard? It don't have to be this way.
It really does not.
People who work real hard trying to be
the best person that they can be.
That should be all that we care about. That should be where we're at. But sometimes I feel like it's just so difficult.
And if they're happy with it, then why? And it's not impacting you, then
if you're trying to overly impose, I don't know. It's just sad, especially in these big companies. We will sit down. I'm gonna tell you, I was sitting down writing a plan together for some diversity stuff, right? And then I went back and I was like, God just dropped something on me. Because, I'm in sales, right?
Right.
So we have a pitch deck that we will bring. If someone has questions about my company, I could bring a deck that explains exactly kind of what we do, how we work it, and all that stuff, right? The first thing I'm thinking about is if you're my customer, I just need to know what are your expected business outcomes? What do you want?
What are your goals? Yes.
What do you want at the end of the day?
What do you need?
At the end of the day, there's a pain point that you have that needs to be serviced. That needs to, and maybe you just saying, hey, I've been thinking we've been doing everything in the office and we want to go work from home. I don't know how to do that. What's the most efficient, effective way for me to do that? Oh, cool. Okay, well, let me give you some options. Here are some different ways that we could accomplish this goal and how I can support you along your way. That's literally the job, right? If we're thinking about diversity this way, I could take that same deck.
It's a problem.
And switch the terms.
Exactly.
Literally, we're saying the same thing. It's the same. I have a problem. I have a pain point that I need to get from point A to point B.
How do I do it?
How can we get there?
What's the best way?
Exactly. And so if you're looking around a room and if I'm as a Black woman, what happens when you're in the break room at work and all the Black people in there?
What you disperse because we don't want to look like a gang. Gang.
Okay. You're gonna look around and be like, it's a whole bunch of us up in here. First of all, you already know what other people think. You're thinking about what other people think about y'all being in there, right?
I've seen it. I can remember being in a room and it was quite a few of us. And it was like, are you all up to trouble? Trouble? No, we're just talking.
Mm-hmm.
Stay out of trouble.
Stay out of trouble. That's another one. I say I'm gonna be in as much trouble as you. So that means we both got to stay out of trouble then. So that's my thing. I'm like, we are aware of it for negative reasons, right? But when they're all sitting in a room together, somebody should be saying, there should be some more people in here, right?
Yeah.
There should be something there. If you're planning an event and the speakers all look exactly the same, there should be something in your mind that makes you say, we need some diversity here. Like, if not for even just the look of it, even if you yourself are like, these are the exact people that I want to speak, but something should be saying, we can't be, we look tone deaf if we're saying we're going to promote something and literally everybody's all white women or all white men or all whatever. There needs to be some spice, unless this is specifically like for if we put something together,
like food. You don't want your food bland.
That's fine.
You put different spices, right? You have different ingredients,
perspectives. But then what happens if when we put a Black event together and then somebody says, "Is that racist because you didn't have any?" And I'm like, I don't know. So I don't know. I feel like it's just not as complex as it needs to be, and I don't know what the barrier breakdowns that need to take place in the mindset of people who are saying, and we'll probably touch on this, but when companies are recruiting and they're looking outside and they're saying, well, we don't want to specifically target Black people because we don't want to compromise the quality of the talent that's going to come in. Well, you're already not getting the quality of talent because you don't have a diverse pipeline. Right? You only got white people. You already not getting the best of the best because your pipeline's not broad enough. You don't have Hispanics, you don't have Asians, you don't have Black, you don't have nothing but white. You're not getting the best talent.
And that diversity of thought, really, because everyone does have different perspective. I mean, I can remember being on a diverse team. Like, we don't all think alike.
Exactly. Our experiences are different.
Exactly. Kind of going back to what you said earlier about the all Black events, a lot of times we have those because we haven't been brought to the table for those other events. So we have to go and create our own.
Yes.
Right. So a lot of times that's when you will see all Black.
We have turned into a Shirley Chisholm quote. If they don't get you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And we'll bring a folding chair, a folding table, some dominoes, some space,
some cards.
Exactly. Shoot. So that's kind of what we've learned to do. We've learned to create our own spaces because they're safe.
We've had to.
Specifically HBCUs. Right?
Yeah.
That was created because they wouldn't let us come into the college.
And someone asked me that. They was like, what is, why was that created? And I broke down the history of why it was created is because they didn't want us at our school. So we had to go and create our own.
Yeah. And I told the boys, and I don't care. I was like, I want y'all to go to HBCU. I really do.
Yeah. I wanted Kiara to go, but I wanted her to have a scholarship.
Well, me too. That's my point. Yeah. I'm like, now there are some certain ones that I really would love y'all to go to. Hopefully at that point you will have some scholarships. Especially if you're coming from out of state. That was one of my things. Ooh. I had got a scholarship for Tuskegee, but it wasn't enough
to cover the out of state.
And we was already poor. So I'm like, I'm gonna need some more money or I'm gonna have to stay local. But because of the experience that you get, especially kids like mine that are growing up in the suburbs,
going to schools in a predominantly
exactly. I'm like, area. I want y'all to have some Black professors. I want y'all to go to school like how Kim did when she was in high school. I want you to have
elementary and high school. I'll have
And there you go. See,
all the way to really till I graduated high school. Yeah.
But you know what? Right now, with the homeschooling thing, that's what I've been trying to customize with them. They have some, they have a diverse teachers right now because I can specifically say what I want. I can pick the type of teachers that I want. So, and tutors and stuff like that. I'm supporting Black tutoring companies. I got another one that I'm about to start working with, who is a lady from our run club who is a teacher, and she started her own tutoring company when the pandemic started. So I'm gonna have her coming in on the English side, and we're keeping the one
for the math.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. And then kind of like speaking of that, like the diversity, HBCUs, building pipelines, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter, she's not at a HBCU. I think HBCUs are great. One thing that I do see that I question sometimes is when they only pull Black talent and they think they're just at HBCUs.
Right.
And I'm like, not all Black people go to a HBCU.
Yeah.
So don't forget about the people who are at non-HBCUs.
Yeah.
But also like she's going through this internship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're not seeing us represented at work, guess what the internships look like?
Exactly. You gotta get. I think the for HBCU specifically is like an easy place for them to know where
Yeah.
they are, right? Like I know it's some black people at
Yeah.
Spelman, right? Like
Right.
if I'm looking for black people, I can go to Howard and I'll get the,
Yep.
whatever the
I can go to
school. Paul
Morehouse.
Quinn College,
Yep.
like they've partnered with the Mavericks. They've created a degree in sports management.
That is awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Michael Sorrell and
Cent. Yep, they have partnered. They spent $500,000 to support this major. They learn leadership. They learn sports management. They're learning all these things, and it is a specific degree that you can get at Paul Quinn to learn, and they get internships at the Mavs.
What? So that's what I'm talking about.
And they can get full-time hire positions and all that stuff. So like that is putting your money where your mouth is when it comes to saying, hey, you know what? I want to pour into our community. They're here. You're in Dallas.
Right.
So why would you not want to support your community? These are your people. The workers that are going to be working there are going to come from Dallas, right? So why not create a space where you can customize,
develop the talent?
Yeah, exactly. So, those type of programs are very, very good. As far as people who are.
I love that. I did not know anything about that. And I love, why I love it? Because a lot of times Black people, or not just Black people, but you see young Black boys wanting to go into sports. Well, here's an alternative. Like, hey, I didn't make the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
However, here's an opportunity for you to still be in that industry.
Exactly. And I feel like, hey, don't sleep. At everyone, what are the odds of somebody making it into
the NBA or
any sport, any professional sport, right?
Right.
As I was talking to my dad about this, it was really interesting. I was like, Dad, we need to continue this conversation because he really helped me. And I'm looking at his stats, and in there it shows you the people who were on his team who made it to the majors. When I I was in here doing straight business analyst work with my daddy on the phone.
Looking at data.
I'm looking at the data and I was like, Dad, your batting average is way better than these people. He was better than people that made it into the major leagues. Yes. And he told me, he said, I didn't do any of the networking. He said some of these guys were going with the coaches and going fishing and doing all these things. And he was like, you know how we are. You ain't going nowhere with no coaches. Like that's a cultural thing, right?
It is.
Child molestation, all these, that is and was a real thing. And especially in the Black community, we don't be playing that, going to spend the night with the coach and all that old stuff. So he even called that out. He was like, my dad he's definitely a activist. He said, when they draft you, they know where they're going to put you. He was better than a whole bunch of folks. And they will say that, people that knew him. And I'm like, it's so much to that. I said, so you weren't doing the networking, right? I'm like, whether right or wrong, right? I'm like, some of that had to do with maybe, could be some racism in there, but also there's some other pieces to it that like we've learned over the years as far as, I don't want to, but building relationships is key, right? To that. Getting an internship, these kids who are going to be a part of this program, they're going to be learning from Mark Cuban
and exposure.
Mark Cuban coming to your college, talking to y'all about.
I want to go work for them.
Talking about entrepreneurship, the Mr. Shark Tank, or whatever, coming talking to you about entrepreneurship right there. Like you're getting that one-on-one. Come on. Like that's how you make a difference, in these type of spaces. So
this is so exciting.
Yeah. And so then you got companies that are because of the George Floyd, kind of uprising that took place with all the corporate spaces, putting all these commitments out there. We're going to do this. We're going to invest in HBCUs. We're going to invest in these places, but they're really not trying to.
So saying it and doing it are two different things.
Yes.
And if they say it, how do we measure that it's been done?
And
how do we hold them accountable?
And they might be willing to donate some money just so that their name look like they did something, but they ain't trying to hire nobody. They're not really trying to bring no interns.
That's the unfortunate part.
And that's the part that is like really, it's annoying. I'm like, I am so, yeah. So
it's quite disheartening.
There was just, I think we had that article in our docket about Google and how they are approaching their what do you call it?
Well,
Relationship with the HBCUs.
Mhm.
And HBCUs, they had called them out. They called them out some weeks or months ago. Google had their CEO had met with like 5 HBCU presidents after that whole thing with Timnit Gerbu, the AI scientist that got fired because she was calling them out on their ethics around artificial intelligence with Black people. And they wasn't liking her speaking up about that. So she got fired. Uproar. I mean, employees, 1,500 or so employees signed their names on a petition, about this and all that. So when I saw this article come out about them with the HBCUs, what was it entitled?
It was entitled Google's approach to historically Black schools. It helps explain why there are few Black engineers in big tech.
Okay.
And so I remember when they did this because Kiara was in high school. I was like, oh yeah, she's gonna go to HBCU. She could probably get connected with Google. And so basically they created this program where they wanted to pretty much build the pipeline from these HBCUs. So like Howard University was one. But earlier before you sent me this article I read where they were saying the participants in these program, a lot of them didn't even get hired by Google.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically just say, hey, this is a program you can attend, you can apply. You being in this program does not mean you will get hired.
And it's interesting because as I'm, working with our ATW, my Women in Tech group, that's something that we are calling for as a commitment with our partners. That's been a big passion thing for me. I don't just want your check. I want to be able to call you when I want to have a network where if one of my women that is a member of my group needs a job at Salesforce and Salesforce is a sponsor, I want to be able to say, I want her to be able to connect with somebody directly in there and get her to the front of the line, or get her right in that, kind of like the employee referral kind of thing. They shouldn't have to go through all that rigmarole, if we're over here doing this thing. And if you're saying I'm partnered with the HBCUs and we're going to put this program together and all this, why do kids got to go through all this headache to get a job?
Right. And in the article, it explained, I guess there is a system that they have the schools based by tier. So if you go to Stanford, your college is at a higher tier. Well, if you are at HBCU, according to this article, there was a lower, number one, there was a lower priority for hiring. And then this wasn't even as part of a tier.
They put you on the bootleg section.
Yes.
Put them in the little extras.
Right.
That's not cool.
It's not.
Which makes sense. So now we're looking at them that they keep getting criticized for having 3% Black. I think it's less than that probably.
It's probably like 2.9.
And it's like, why is that still the number? I don't get it. I just don't get it. So yeah, I think we got to really get real with, I usually frown upon the whole unconscious bias thing, which I think, but for real, there is a lot of like, you think, and maybe you're not a racist, right? But something in you says, Black people are not as smart. I don't want to,
And let me tell you, Black people have to be real smart and creative to get around a lot of the stipulations that are being put in place. So if we are overcoming something, overcame or overcoming, that means we've had to be creative. We had to take a different route.
But you know what? And I saw this on
So we are smart.
I saw this on LinkedIn the other day as well. And I think it was Tara that posted it. And we've seen this before. Remember we went to Dynamic Women of Color? What was it called?
Was it with the Plano? Yep.
Dynamic Women of Color. Okay. White males are the only demographic that their population size increases as they get higher up in the ranks in a company.
Yeah, we did see that there.
Every other white women, Black, anybody of color,
it decreases.
It goes lower. The number of those individuals, the higher up they go. Everybody, let's say we all came in entry level, it's the same number.
Right.
As we go higher, white males are the only ones that grows. Everybody else's goes narrow to zero. We got the Sunda, And we got, what's the one who's about to take over Walgreens?
Walgreens, Rosalind.
I don't know her last name.
Is it Brewer?
But literally of the Fortune 500, so we're gonna have 2 Black women. Something is wrong.
Rosalind Brewer.
Something is wrong. And when people act like they don't know what it is, it's so irritating. These things have to be called out. They have to be dealt with. Yes, there are systemic things happening in all these companies. Yes, in the hiring practices. Yes, in the pipeline to where are you finding the talent? There are multiple groups. You got JobWell, you got MemConnect, you have HBCU Connect. These are different groups that you can partner with that will help you see where the talent is. I got emails all week that Microsoft is hiring. They're having a hiring event, special hiring event for people who are part of the group that I'm in called HBCU Connect.
Oh, yeah.
Other companies are doing it as well. I get emails all the time. Sign up to be a part of this. If you're looking for a job, submit your resume, get in there. I've been to multiple events. I've been to the events, the networking events where you're standing there with the hiring managers, meeting them face to face, specifically targeting this group to find the best talent within that space. It's not like you're saying, let me do charity and give jobs to Black people who are not qualified. That's not what it is. You're still going through the process, but you get a chance to at least see these people and be in front of them. So many groups that do this. They have thousands and thousands of people's information that you can leverage to show your jobs to. If I don't see your job, no, I'm not going to apply because I'm not seeing it. Because guess what? You're only going over here to, this particular university to get your interns or, to recruit or whatever. So that kind of stuff, I don't know. I think they make it harder than it really is. The people, they don't want to change. You don't want to change.
I agree.
And that's the bottom line.
And I actually, my eyes were really opened as Kiara started going through the process of looking for an internship. And you go on their sites, right? And you see the pictures of the interns.
Mm-hmm. Listen, y'all. It's more common than we think.
Yeah.
It's more common. It's more common. And I look at that stuff as well. But then you got your president out here talking crazy. And y'all know we not a political podcast or none of that. So we gonna give that smoke to whoever acting stupid. And he's straight up, and it ain't his first time. Honestly, the whole thing with we only had 2 options. And this man has said so many things that are just like, I'm like, are you stuck in the olden days? Because I know you're an old white man. So I don't know if he just got some old cultural biases that he's trying to shake them. Mm-hmm. I think he really is. He wants to, but it's natural in his mind to say. He said, I showed Kim this hilarious TikTok where the guy was acting out based on what Joe Biden was saying, which he was basically saying the Blacks and the Latin Americans, or what was he saying?
Latinos don't know how to get in line. They don't know online for the vaccine.
They don't know how to go online to get in line for the COVID vaccine. And the guy is like down at the bottom looking like
Tarzan,
like trying to open the computer. Like you don't know how to open a computer, sir. We know how to go online.
Believe it or not.
Okay,
we're pretty sad.
Blacks and Latinx
TikTok making videos.
We know how to go online. Okay, we're not stupid. That is not the problem. That is not why the COVID vaccine is not been given out appropriately. That is not the problem. I'm irritated. He had me so hot. I'm like, oh, you're done.
I didn't even know until you sent me that link.
But I'm like, again, stop letting this man talk.
Oh,
Kamala.
What did I tell you?
Kamala, go get him. He is tripping. So yeah, stuff like that though. That's really what's in some folks' mind. Like he said it 2 years ago when they said, "What are you trying to do to eliminate the legacy of slavery in this country?" or stuff like that. He got to talk about the single parents and talk about we're going to send social workers in the homes to teach the parents how to be a parent.
Players on. Well, now right there, if he said record player,
He said record
If
players.
he said record player, then that to me indicates
You're still in the old days.
because we don't have record players anymore.
He said that parents just put the record players
Shit, we
on
don't
that
even
night.
have CD players anymore on these darn laptops.
He didn't even say cassette. He didn't say CD player. He didn't say cassette player. This is how you know how far. He said get the record players.
Record player.
I'm like, these kids don't even know what a record player is.
They're probably like, what's a record player?
Right. So I'm like, and these are people running corporations. He's running the country. So imagine these other companies that have leaders that are thinking like that. They don't think that we can go online and get the job.
Yeah, the vaccine, yet alone a job. If we don't know how to get on and get the vaccine, then clearly we don't know how to get the job.
Exactly. Or do the job. When, hey, check those same records. You know, Black women are of the highest group of people that have college degrees.
And creating businesses.
I'm just saying.
Speaking of COVID, down here in the great state of Texas, the Lone Star State, where we're always alone.
Come on down, baby.
We're no mask.
We wide open.
Bust it wide open.
Bust it challenge right here down in Texas.
Mask on, but we will
mask off.
Have our mask on. Right. It's mask off. Mask off. I will have my mask on.
Listen, I'm not listening to him. Him and his whole family probably already got the vaccine.
True.
Greg Abbott.
True.
I'm sure he got the vaccine already. So he like, listen, we need to open up 100% and get in here.
Get back to go out to business. And
I'm like, the CDC just said.
I thought it was a joke when I saw it. Like, I don't even have alerts on my phone. I think it was on my laptop. The news came in. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is a joke. And I tuned in like to the news because I haven't really been watching the news either.
I don't either.
Unless it's like early in the morning. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's doing a press conference and he's going to have us. Like, I'm trying to get anything that I want to do done before this Wednesday. So
these people are still fighting in the stores to not have to wear a mask. They were already doing that. We still have issues. But my thing is the stores are in places where we're going to, be going in and out of. It's on them. Just like they say, no shirt, no shoes, no service.
Exactly.
They need to still just implement that. You could tell people
there will be. Kroger is one. Mm-hmm. So they'll get my business.
I'll get my groceries online. So
you do. I go at 7:00 in the morning anyway. So no one's in there.
Oh yeah. I'm not doing nothing at 7 a.m.
I'm up and lively at 7. So
I'm cool. But no, that's the thing. I'm like, y'all, and Mississippi, I think, said the same thing.
It was Mississippi.
I'm like, I want to know. I want to just be a fly on the wall in these meetings. That I want to hear about all the like other reasons why. Are y'all trying to really kill folks off? Like, what is really going on?
I guarantee you, we will probably be back to a mask on mandate.
I don't know. And they said that the cases increased already.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Which is like, we were just getting to a place where we're, it was going decreasing down. Yeah. And it's like, why would you announce that now? Like, why don't you wait?
And it's spring break week here in Texas, or it's the start of it because not everybody's on spring break, but there will be people on spring break. And I'm just like, I don't know.
I know I ain't listening to his, but
no,
he ain't no scientist. He ain't nobody.
I'm gonna tell you what's gonna be very available: mask here, because people are going to be very happy not to have them on. I'm getting ready to probably go and stop and grab just a couple of boxes.
I got me some.
I do too, but I want more.
My daddy sent me a box of them.
He did
the other day,
and I wear black masks.
It's a box of black masks. Yes. And I got a whole bunch of them in my glove.
Me too.
Thing in my car, so I forget.
Never forget.
And some in my house. I got my little station with the temperature. I got a little station in my house with the hand sanitizer, the mask, the little temperature for your forehead check, stuff like that.
I like that.
Just in case. I'm like, hold on, let me just do my little what I can do. But yeah, just be safe, y'all. I don't care what they tell you. Be safe. put those masks on. I'm actually happy that we're not shaking hands anymore.
Oh,
I'm so glad.
me
I'm not bringing
too.
that back. I don't care
Me
what y'all
either.
talking about.
Not ever.
We gonna, elbow bump or whatever. We create some new stuff. Exactly.
Wink at you. Wink 2 times.
Yes. So we didn't just set up in here and just. But you know what? Actually, we had a theme. It focused, huh? Didn't we
What was our
focus
theme?
today? We talked about diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
We talked about these companies that act like they don't know how to hire Black people and Latinx folks and indigenous communities, and stop this ridiculousness. And see, this is another thing. And this is why look,
Black women. And another thing,
because I just thought about it. They've been talking about the Asian Americans and all this hate against them. And you know what? It made me think. I was like, you know what? And it's probably been stuff happening that they just wasn't talking about.
Exactly.
And it's gotten, it's come up just like with us.
Yep.
It's stuff that been happening. And now we're getting to focus on it. And it's like, this all stems from the same place. It's that hate.
It is.
That hate is the same hate. And it's almost like when we were back in the day, really fighting for the civil rights, and which we still fighting for. But the movement, it's like when we get to this Black problem, it trickles down. Because we're like the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the hatred. Seriously.
We are.
When we look at tears and how they look at us, we're always the last ones. And it's like, if y'all could really get to the core of this Black problem, it's going to help a lot of other people as well. It's going to affect so many, because it helped women. It helped the LGBT community. Every time we fight for something, it helps others. Yeah. And so we really need to work on this, because as you can see, it is just really blowing up into a bunch of other places that just doesn't need to be the case. And if we really just say we want to have all these liberties and freedoms and all that.
Well, and I'm going to bring up one last thing that we didn't talk about here in Plano, Texas. And you weren't aware of it. And so when you said hate, that really hit me. It made me think that it just does not start in corporate America.
It starts in them schools.
So we need to make sure. So if you are a parent, if you have a child, Black, white, blue, whatever color, teach them not to hate, because we are now dealing with a young child who was forced to drink someone else's urine.
Oh my God.
So how evil is that? And so then let's play this back.
So let's play this back.
Okay, so the little boy, I guess, was on a football team here in Plano. And of course, what child doesn't want to be liked and have friends?
13 years old.
So they invited him over to a slumber party. Right. So he goes to the slumber party. Apparently they invited others that were bullies. And I guess he fell asleep. They woke him up and told him, hey, you stop breathing, you need to drink this. And what they had was all of their urine. And so all he wanted to, he was not there out of any evil type of,
they're evil.
Yes. And so think about this. And so the mom really had to take this to social media in order for it to get coverage and media, because the Plano, the school schools board, said that they could not do anything, which I believe is a lie.
If he was beaten, they would.
Yep. And so if they had not been, or if they are not being held accountable, they grow into men who are going to work and have those same views of people. So I'm like, just playing. So I've had friends who've had issues, right? If their son has been called the N-word, you have to be held accountable for your actions.
Yeah. I mean, and it's unfortunate, because
it is so unfortunate.
Right now, I'm so glad my kids are not in school.
Yeah.
Because I was on a very high alert at all times with my kids in school. And there were times where I had to get up there and really, let them know what's going on.
And that's stressful to
write letters and do all these things to make sure that they saw my presence, that they saw that I'm not playing no games with their butts. And she had said that her son had been bullied for a year. And I'm just like, Jesus, like, help me. I remember Marvin had an incident, and this white guy, probably was 18 years old, working in the after school care, pushed him, and Marvin kicked him twice. And I was like, I did not even flinch when it came to what Marvin. I'm like, I know you didn't think you was about to get in trouble, because I don't believe in that. Don't put your hands on my child.
Exactly.
I wrote letters. I followed up. I went through the whole process. He ended up getting fired, all that stuff. But I had to tell them at one point because they were trying to delay me, and I said, listen, I'm trying to handle this amicably. His father is ready to come up here. I'm just letting y'all know. So I think we need to take care of this in a way. Like I had to threaten him almost that he gonna come up here and act a fool if y'all don't, handle this, which is just ridiculous that I had to go through, do that. But I had to let him know, like, he got a daddy. And if this boy up here, if he's up here again and his daddy come to pick him up, you can forget it. Putting his hands on his child like that. He not gonna handle it like how I'm handling it right now. But these are the things. And they're not gonna do a dang thing. The police talking about they can handle it. Anything that happened during or after, no, before or during the incident or something like that. It was something ridiculous that they put.
And just imagine this young boy's experience, right? And just imagine how he will now view people just by that experience that he went through. So that's why it's like, and they intentionally, that was premeditated that they did.
Because these people had been bullying him.
Correct.
He didn't know they were going to be there.
And just like the insurrection, I guarantee you, if it was flipped around,
it wouldn't be flipped around. Because it would be a massacre. That wouldn't happen. And that's the part that I'm like, I want people to be honest and stop looking at these incidents and acting like if it was the reverse, it wouldn't be nothing different. You know that if that was a group of black kids that had a white boy drinking pee, what would be happening? They all would have been expelled from the schools. They all would have been like, school would have figured out a way to handle it at that point. They wouldn't ignore that at all. And that's just the reality. And we got to quit acting like we don't see what's happening. I've been reading James Baldwin over the last couple of weeks. I done read 2 of his books and I'm like, oh my God, I could take those exact words
and apply them to today.
He said the only difference between, and this is what he said, the police and the Klan was their uniforms. And he talked about how the educational system, he's like, these people who are, and this is nothing against police officers, but what he basically was calling out was like the education level, right? He was like, they don't have an education. They don't have to go through schooling to become a cop. So when they are reacting and doing these things, they're doing it out of the
emotion and what
these certain level of ability to manage emotions, right? You're not getting this extra you're not getting this extra
you're not getting the proper training in order to respond.
Think about it. If I'm in the hood, I got bills, I got issues, I'm poor, I'm struggling, I'm gonna be walking around with a chip on my shoulder. Okay?
True.
And don't talk to me crazy because I got things going on. I'm bothered. I'm irritated most of the time because I got problems. And that's why people, it's just a trip. They make it seem like it's just like these are innately problems for, low income community. It's the socioeconomic state of a person, right? Of where they're at. When I get to corporate America and I'm, going through this process to get access into this space because I got to have the degree, I got to have this, I got to have all these things to give me that stamp. You're not about to see me act too crazy certain places because I got something to lose, right? Like I'm out here like, I ain't trying to, lose almost. So you're going to be a little bit more cautious in how you respond and how you act because you're like, I can't be going to jail right now. You know what I'm saying?
Seriously.
But when you won't have a lot to lose, you're like, take me to jail. I'll slap you upside your head, So I'm thinking, as I think back on, some of these police officers, they will act out of whatever. And then guess what they're going to do? Go home and retire on a nice little
pension
and be done with it. And no kind of what's the word I'm thinking of? Like accountability for their actions.
Repercussions.
Yeah. And that's why they're boarding up the place around this court when they go do this Derek Chauvin trial, because if they don't act right, if y'all, this podcast is going to be going crazy. If that trial comes back with anything other than that man being convicted for the George Floyd. I mean, like if he does not, I'm gonna just be like, what are we? What are we as a people? Like it's at that point, when it comes to a lot of this stuff. It's like we just be acting. We want to be dumb. We want to play dumb. That's what it is.
And we know better.
We all know better.
And so we have to do better.
We got to do better. And those of you who are listening, who have influence and privilege in any area, whether you're black or you're white or whatever you are, whatever, anywhere you have privilege, you need to be able to open your mouth and speak up, like about these things. When you see something, you say something. If you're a man and you see a woman getting, demeaned or treated whatever, call that stuff out. That's the only way it's gonna change. Period. We can't be sitting there being quiet, looking around. I saw something and we're like, what was that? I don't know who that was, but it just this week where it was like, the lady said, I think it was a TikTok, but it's another chick who was talking about how the white lady said to the black woman, I'm so proud of you and you're so strong for calling John out for what he said in that meeting. And she was like, why you didn't say nothing? Well, I'm not as strong as you. I'm not as strong as you. And she's like, but when you wanted us to have healthier food in the break room, you wrote a letter to the like you didn't have you pick and choose what you want to so these kind of things. Take the mirror and look and say, I'm not a bold black girl. I'm not a bold whatever, fill in the blank girl, right? I'm not a bold man, or whatever, but just fill in the blank with whatever that thing is, because that is what it's going to take in order for change to happen. People have to call it out. You're going to have to, it may be risky. It may feel risky. I'm kind of at that place where,
I'm willing to take the risk.
I just can't not do it. I will be beating myself up for not speaking up when it comes to, certain things. So anywho, we didn't ran y'all ears off.
I know, we went off on a tangent.
I know, sorry, but I'll be, this is
passion.
It's passionate. It's passionate. All right.
We're not angry.
Yeah, we're not angry. We're passionate. It's all love. That's what we want. We want it to be
more love.
Yeah, get rid of this evil.
No hate.
Exactly.
All love.
So while y'all loving us, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to us, and rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts. Any podcast platform that you're listening on, if they have a rating system, please do that. We really are trying to have a goal of more subscribers on our YouTube channel. So we're only telling y'all, go ahead and do that. We've been getting some folks ordering Bold Black Girl t-shirts. I ain't even been talking about it, and we've been getting some orders. So hey, we still have a couple of shirts left. Head over to our website, boldblackgirls.com, and check out the Bold Black Girl t-shirt if you would like one for you or someone that you love. And anything else, Kim, that I'm forgetting?
No. Oh, yes. If you have topic suggestions, please send it to us.
Yes.
We're always looking for some topics to discuss. No, there's plenty, but there might be something that interests you.
Yeah. We would love to. We were in here before we got here. We're like, okay, we're gonna talk about some insurance because we were dealing with some insurance stuff. So we go bring our.
So now we know we're gonna have a homeowners podcast.
Exactly.
Life of a homeowner.
Yeah.
And we're also gonna add someone to come in and talk about insurance investments.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we know that there's an opportunity for money in investing in your insurance.
Exactly.
And having insurance.
Yes.
And generational wealth through insurance.
That's why we're bringing him on. So anywho, all right, y'all. Well, we love you. And we hope you have a bold week. We'll see you next time.
Peace.